Hi people, me again of course as always, and as usual, more November. Yeah, you can tell what time it is based on the header of this video, as always and as usual. The fifth Pentacle of Jupiter. This is a project, by the way, I'm shooting this video freestyle. I'm literally just going to say what's on my mind. Before I continue, the article that this video is part of or will be embedded in, you can find that as always and as usual linked in the description of this video. Strongly suggest that you give the article a read, because everything that you want to see and or hear and or observe in terms of what I'm going to be discussing in this video, you can find it in the article. Now, the fifth Pentacle of Jupiter, beautiful beloved fifth Pentacle of Jupiter, or as I like to call it, fifth POJ, abbreviated. I ordered it along with the fourth Pentacle of Jupiter that I already covered in my on my website and overall content. Again, check my website and the YouTube channel for the fourth POJ, fourth Pentacle of Jupiter, for my counseling business. Now, the fifth Pentacle of Jupiter, I ordered it either in the same batch or shortly afterwards. In any case, this one was the most expensive Pentacle I spent money on. Not that it's about that, of course, well worth the money to say the least. Oh boy. One hell of an understatement. Now, so yeah, let's start off with that first. I ordered this Pentacle November last year, and the Pentacle is made from 10K yellow gold, so 10 karat yellow gold, and it has a 14 karat yellow gold filled chain of 22 inches. Total price was $5,988. So rounded off to 6,000 US dollars. In euros, that's around 5,000 euros, or a little over 5,000 euros. In any case, 5 to 6,000. So yeah, the Pentacle is made from pure gold. Again, when you read the article and you download all the media, then you'll see all of it in all of its glory. So yeah, as the header states of this video, the project that I've been embroiled in, so to speak, for the past 7 months, November last year, and we're currently in May, is match predicting. And just like I stated in the article before, someone that has been following me for years says, I thought you didn't recommend gambling of any sort or kind, blah, blah, blah. Years ago, which is correct, around 2019, I did a video like that. I can remember, like 5 years ago. But that applies to the average person in general. In my case, I'm taking the metaphorical risk because I know what I'm doing. It's me. So again, it's all up to me, and I decided that it was well worth the trouble and everything. Of course, my beloved Lord of Lords, Sandalphon, this is one of the many opportunities that he presented me with, in the sense that I was hinted, and I could sense that it came from him, as in, hey, this is coming from Sandalphon. This beautiful Pentacle will definitely provide me at the very least with an opportunity towards financial success. And overall, it's about the principle, similar to my the thing that similar in a manner of speaking, similar to attempting and winning the lottery years ago in 2018, so 6 years ago with thingy through Belial, the big man B. Anyways, yeah. As is almost always the case, or at least generally speaking the case, the whole thing was a process, and I simply began, and I simply asked the answer to matches and whatnot, and I got mixed results. For good measure's sake, I kept it near me, and that I essentially wanted the answer to matches or outcome to football matches, because football is more or less the only sport that interests me. Americans call it soccer, but I borderline hate that word. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's football, not soccer, the actual football. So I'll be referring to it as football henceforth. So yeah, I overall like football. Not a die-hard fan, but it's the only sport I truly love. My favorite team is Manchester City in the English Premier League. My beloved Manchester City. And with the fifth Pentacle of Jupiter, I simply put it above the ledge on my bed, and the way that most beds have ledges above them. And I simply went to sleep, but before I went to sleep, I essentially printed out a match, and I simply asked the Pentacle tell me what the outcome of this match will be. For example, 5 times, since 4 to 5 times, since it is the fifth pinnacle of Jupiter, and Jupiter, the number associated with Jupiter is 4. So I simply did that. I went to sleep, and usually when the general and the answer I got by default is when I had just woken up, as in my intent was more to receive it when I went to sleep, and I sorry, and I got the answer when I woke up, like so in a post wake up style or manner. Now, for people that are unfamiliar with this pentacle, let me briefly read the description. Description is in the Great Tricky of Solomon, Order of the Pentacles, it's figure 22. The fifth pinnacle of Jupiter, this had great power, it served for assured visions. Jacob, being armed with this pinnacle, beheld the ladder which reached unto heaven. And then you have the editorial note. The Hebrew letters within the pentacles are taken from the 5 last words from the versicle which surrounds it, each of which contains 5 letters. These are then recombined so as to form certain mystical names. The versicle is taken from Ezekiel, paragraph 1. As I was among the captives by the river of Shebar, the heavens were open and I saw visions of Elohim. In my opinion, the visions should only consist of the 5 last words thereof, when the anachronism of Jacob using a pentacle with a sentence from Ezekiel will no longer exist. And yeah, so yeah, anyways, I remember quite a funny thing. The very first time I used the pentacle, now that I'm bringing it up, I had a dream that also hinted at assurance. Let's just say that again, the dream was about something metaphorical, but the message was that, hey, it's assured, as in I felt the power of that pentacle. Also, the second I dealt with it, like, that's why it says it had great power. Pentacle is really powerful. So powerful, in fact, that every time I use the pentacle, by default, and I, for example, since I've had it, and I, for example, changed my modus operandi, so the manner of working that I applied, or I slightly deviated something, it's almost like I get a cold. I don't get a cold, but I get a lot of phlegm all of a sudden. I have to, like, my nose becomes all sniffly and whatnot. That's why you're seeing it, for example, briefly, because I wrap things up with the fifth pinnacle of Jupiter regarding this project, and that's why I'm essentially sharing my experiences with it the way I do by default. It's already fine. Like I said, the whole cold-like symptoms already left, but I still have to do this briefly. But that's fine. Like I said, it's not a big deal, obviously. It never was, even when I still had to deal with those metaphorical symptoms. In any case, the first dream I had, with the very first time I tried using it, is that, hey, it does indeed have, I do indeed get assured visions. So at the very least in the beginning, that was the case. Now, people need to not misunderstand things. When you are referring to assured visions, that doesn't mean that, again, as is the case by default with so many people in the world, the same thing goes for the Bible. People misconstrue things. They can't understand it, and they take things way too literally, because bluntly put, a lot of people in the world, most of them are too stupid for words, especially when it comes to stuff like this. By the description, it's not meant that you're getting guaranteed visions, as in, oh, okay, so it's guaranteed. No. By assured visions, it is meant that the pentacle, when utilized, has, generally speaking, the highest level of potency compared to the average technique, spiritual technique that you'll be using, or occult technique, in terms of showing you or telling you what and how something will manifest. Let's just put it that way. But that doesn't mean that when you're going to use it, that automatically it means that, oh, okay, it's guaranteed. Okay, I asked it when it's going to rain. It told me tomorrow 8 p.m. No. That what I just said is what is meant by it. Give it assured visions, as in it, compared to all the other techniques out there. Generally speaking, it has at the very least one of the highest levels of potency, like top 5 or top 10 at least, in terms of relaying and or displaying to you exactly what the flow of spiritual energy, the way the universe is configured, as Father Almighty has put forth, the same way that He has put forth everything. He is everything and nothing, and vice versa, and everything else in between, and anything else in between. it shows you that outline the clearest. You know, it's like reading glasses. That's metaphorically what you can compare it to as an example, for the sake of an example or giving one. And you try on 10 reading glasses. All of them work fine, but there is that one pair of reading glasses that is like exceptionally more detailed. When you put on those glasses, even if something is like 5 meters away, you're still capable of seeing it. Even if there's writing on a wall 5 meters away, 10 meters away, you can still read it. Compared to the other glasses, which, for example, you can read it, but it's like a bit blurry. It's simply exceptional in terms of quality within this context. It is exceptionally quintessential. Now, in any case, so I began, and in the beginning, are you kidding me? I was like on fire. I asked, like amazing, I asked, for example, the outcome of a match, etc., and detail what was the score line going to be. And the first 2 or 3 matches, believe it or not, was correct. Like really, like boom. For example, I see a match, oh, okay, da-da-da-da-da. I wake up in the morning, oh yeah, right, the match, boop. And I see like 2-1, okay. Premier League match 2-1, Spanish La Liga 2-2. Later on I check on my phone sports app or whatever sports application I want to use or mobile app. Boom, 2-2. I'm like, wow, okay. But then of course that didn't last, and after my cardinal personality most likely has something to do with it. Look up personalities on my YouTube channel if you want to know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm not going to like pivot away from the fifth POJ. Now, in any case, people that follow me by default, they know what I mean. People that have watched my videos over the past years. And if you forgot, then again, look it up. In any case, so, you know, afterwards it became like mixed results, a swing and a miss, etc. And I did what I naturally do, because I know that, hey, this thing is it's a learning process. I need to figure out the correct configuration, as in I need to figure out exactly how I need to utilize it in order to maximize its power, and then apply that to what I want. Like I already said, this is what you're supposed to do by default, the same way that you do in every other aspect of life. You know, you need to adjust things in such a manner that it is thingy to you, that it brings you maximum practical and or overall benefit. So I did the same thing, and then over the course of time between then and now, I tried several things. I tried, for example, working on several days, for example, when the moon was at its strongest, when Jupiter was at its strongest, so on Monday, on Thursday. Other days I experimented here and there, and the results were the same. They were mixed. Sometimes I got good results, other times it was, metaphorically speaking, completely off, and therefore, so to speak, wrong. Now, and I tried different techniques, and including real-time lunar movements that I did an article on not too long ago. You can look that up on my website as well. I abbreviated RLM. So I applied RLM, and I was like, okay, so I need to be as detailed as possible, figure out the exact time I need to like ask for when a match is going to take place, and And after a while, I did no longer need to utilize, like, for example, simply asking the Pentacle what a match outcome would be and then going to sleep and then waking up, etc. No. It became metaphorically obsolete at some point when I gained enough experience with it, and I worked with it, and I could just be awake and ask, as in, what's the outcome going to be, and I saw the answer in front of me, like spiritually appear in astral energy, generally speaking blue energy, either blue or yellow, golden yellow, but just blue overall. Now, of course, again, between then and now, I refined it, and up to like what, maybe a month or two ago, let's just say halfway, so 3 months, up to January approximately, for February, it was mixed results. And I had tried everything, that I had exhausted every option that came to mind, in a manner of speaking, and I, as well as literally up to a fair degree or a certain extent, and I just tried everything that came to mind based on my knowledge and experience, and you name it. I even tried something I called circumvention, which is that, for example, because at some point I noticed that, for example, it would be off only just by 1 point. For example, I got the answer that, hey, this match is going to finish 1-1, and then it finished 1-2. I got the answer that, hey, this match is going to finish 1-0, and the match finished 1-1. So I tried compensating for that by doing what I said called circumvention, where I put down the answers and everything, and I included all the possible outcomes that lied within, for example, a margin of 1 or 2. So for example, 1-1, 1-0, 0-1, 1-2, 2-2, 2-1. That way I was like, even if it's off by 1 point, I can still benefit from it. I'll still get it right, as long as the betting odds are of such a nature that I still profit, Otherwise, obviously, it's no good. And that was the case. But even that, after a while, did not pan out. In the beginning, it did work here and there, at least, or it just overall worked in general. But later on, it also became unsustainable for the purposes of durability and or longevity. And in any case, like for the past 3 months, I reached a point where I simply settled and I played when Jupiter was at its absolute strongest and at night, for practicality's sake for me, because I already do other things during the day, other projects, and it just goes on. So I ended up simply playing every Thursday evening when Jupiter was at its strongest. In my location, usually that's around 9 p.m. And I called Thursday evening match day or match evening, because that's when I used to do my thing with my beloved 5th POJ. And usually I would simply select a match that is the following day. And I had an altar for it that you'll see in the picture and or video in the article, and a beautiful altar in my temple. And I simply composed an oration, and I repeated it 5 times, and then another time, so a 6th time, specifically for referring to that match. I discussed the match with the 5th POJ, as in, hey, this match tomorrow, etc. This is the time, this is where it's going to be played, and all the other details relating to it. These players won't play, just for good measure's sake, just for the sake of making small talk. And I simply said, please, show me what the outcome of this match will be upon full time, like the full score line, everything. And I was prompted to, for example, look up as in straightforward rather than look down, and the logos of the clubs, because it's usually club football, even if it was international football, the logos of both teams would appear, and I would see the numbers underneath it. For example, I see 2 football teams, and then one logo is to the left, one is to the right, and then underneath it I see like dials, and I see, for example, 2-2, and then, for example, with team A, I see that the 2 wants to turn into a 3, almost like a dial, and then it pivots back and forth between 2 and 3, and then the Pentacle tells me that it's going to be a draw. For example, 90% chance of a draw. If a winner emerges, it is highly likely to be team A, like that. And that was the best system at the end, the system that I used at the end. The system I just described. I've been doing that for the past 3 months, and it worked fine. I'm not gonna lie. I have like an 85% success rate in total since I've been using the system the way I described it, exactly the way I described it just now, with me doing it Thursday evening, everything, all of that. I did 13 football matches. I also have like everything in a text file that you can download from the article called links, and you'll see literally every football match with the links, etc. from a website called Flash Score, where I have all the links copied and pasted. It's me, so ultra detailed record keeping, meticulous record keeping to say the least, even if I say so myself as always, and as usual. And you'll have all of that there. In any case, since I've been applying the aforementioned method of working, the aforementioned MO, if you will, I played 13 matches. For people that specifically really want to know, let me see. Give me one moment. Where is it again? Matches, links. Everything took place between match 31 up until and both including match 44. So that makes it 13 to 14 matches in the past 3 months. Okay, the other match 31 was at the end of February. I think the 23rd or 29th of February. In any case, the end of February. So yeah, now we're at the end of we're nearing the end of May, so 3 months. So 13 matches approximately. 44 minus 31 is 30. Yeah, so 13 to 14 matches. In any case, out of all of those matches, I got 2 wrong, so to speak, reason unknown. When I literally mind delved, I did thorough research as in what's the reason. The answer I simply got is that there is a rare, highly exclusionary factor that that the system simply doesn't take into account. Okay, the fifth pinnacle of Jupiter, like I said, it gives you the exact astral outline, as in how something is going to happen. And similar to readings, okay, similar to mind delving, similar to astrology, to tarot card readings, all in their own way, but as a whole, all of them will say the same thing more or less, as long as they are applied correctly. And but like I said, the fifth pinnacle of Jupiter is like super powered astrally. It like gives you like, you can like almost see the energy. I mean, not almost, you can see the energy. And what was I gonna say again? Yeah, and out of all of those matches, again, the 2 that I got wrong, that was the answer, that there is a highly exclusionary factor that, makes it so that on occasion, it's an exception, it's the exception, not the norm. Like, for example, 1 out of 10 times that something like this is going to happen, something isn't taken into account, a rare exclusionary factor comes into play, where that turns things on their heads, essentially. Because the last match I got wrong. The last match was between 2 Italian teams, Genoa in the Italian Serie A football, Genoa versus Bologna. And for example, today is Friday. Last night I went about the process, and like I said, the pinnacle, the beauty is that it literally shows you everything in detail. Like, I did my thing, I asked okay, and I was told okay, as always, look up, and I see both teams, their thingy, Genoa's logo and Bologna's logo, and I see a 1-1, solid 1-1s. And then with Bologna, I saw the 1 turn into like a 2 or a 3 in a dial-like fashion. And I heard that there was like 98% chance of the match being a draw. But if there is a winner, then it's going to be Bologna. And then with Genoa's 1, it briefly wanted to turn into a 2, but it stayed at a 1. Like, almost like when someone goes like this, no, never mind. Whereas with Bologna, it was like 1, and then 2, 3, and then sticks there for like a couple of seconds, and then it goes back to 1. And then it just plays in a loop. That's what I mean, as in this pinnacle shows you everything like detailed, as in it shows you what is going to happen, essentially. And guess what? Genoa, Bologna finished 2-0, 2-0. So not a draw or not a win for Bologna. And it was the same thing. I tried coming up with anything that could an explanation. Because of course, with me, I don't like stuff like this. So I'm like, oh, the second I saw that, I was like, oh my, a couple of hours. I'm like, what the fuck, man, seriously. And then I consulted my own mind, and my own mind told me what I already explained earlier, just now, that it's a highly exclusionary factor that makes it so that things are turned on their head sometimes. But this is the exception and not the norm. And I know that, like I said, out of the past 13 to 14 matches, this has happened twice, which is good, comparatively. Overall, it's good. The 2 matches equal 15% if you wanted to express it in percentages. And so essentially 85% success rate, 15% failure rate, so to speak. And I was like, okay, fair enough. Because the answer was also that the first time I got an incorrect answer. But for all, based on logic and reason, you can see the outline. Because bet makers, they gave the exact same odds. You can go to any betting website. You could have gone to any betting website. The answer was Bologna is going to win. Out of those teams, Bologna is the top tier team, etc. I did this with every match, and with every match pretty much, What I saw was exactly what bet makers had calculated, because websites that offer betting for sports, so sports betting, they use like everything to calculate the highest degree of outcome, or the highest probability in terms of an outcome, and they that's how they make up bets. Okay, the team with the lowest bets is the team that is expected to win. They compare everything: technical prowess of the team, the form the team is in, the mood the team is in. Okay, if the team is going to be motivated based on whether it's a title thingy or not, what's at stake essentially. All of that data is taken and accumulated, and then converted to the aforementioned betting odds. And again, 9 out of 10 times, it happens exactly as predicted. The chance of, for example, a small team beating a big team is it does happen, but rarely. And in this case, for example, was also the case, and I enjoyed seeing it. But I was like, see, look at how everything is like perfectly aligned, and that's also how I won all the other matches. Everything happened exactly the way that was anticipated in general, and I had a fail safe where my intuition really like warns me of something. If there is any change or something, then in the link description, the text file links, you'll see that as well. I, for example, forfeited 1 or 2 matches because my intuition told me that, hey, I remember forfeiting 1 match because the odds were too low, but I saw it too late, so to speak. And I was like, oh, okay, no, never mind then. I'm not going to bother with odds that are like less than 10%. And for Thingy, and for the other one, my intuition simply warned me that, hey, be careful. Not all is as it seems. There might be some unexpected change. I got like a feeling in my gut, and that's the case for my practice as a whole. And I said, okay, fine. So bet-wise, I'm going to forfeit this match. I'm going to pull out of this match. Betting-wise, I'll observe the match to see what the outcome will be. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So yeah, everything went fine. No problems, no issues or anything like that. And I'm sorry if there's background noise. Apparently there's something on my roof, some animal or something. I'm not going to bother. And yeah, what else can I say? That's how things went. So I said to myself, okay, if something is up, then my intuition is going to warn me. For example, the Pentacle manifests things that you would view as your imagination, but it's like a nagging feeling, like metaphorically a mosquito buzzing around your head and going like tip, 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 tip. I get it, for example, because it happened to me, and I went to sleep, I woke up in the morning, and I still had like a nagging feeling. And I know that that's a warning. I'm like, oh boy, that's a red flag. You know what? I'm going to pull out of this match. After observing it, I'm like, okay, something's not right here. Not all is as it seems. Most likely there is some highly unlikely and yet realistically plausible exception going to occur in the ether, so to speak, spiritually, and it might throw the whole match into disarray regarding what I anticipate it to turn into. So in terms of the anticipated outcome, so I simply pulled out. But again, that also rarely happens. It happened once or twice out of all the 13 matches or 14 matches. So yeah, and that's pretty much it, honestly, for the fifth Pentacle of Jupiter, specifically regarding this project. Now, of course, I'm going to keep it to myself. I'm not going to share with people because I don't want to what I intend on doing further with the Pentacle. But of course, the Pentacle cannot just be used for this purpose, nor does it have to. The Pentacle can be used for pretty much anything and everything you can think of in the way of an occult project. But I simply wanted to share this project with you guys. This is what I've been working on for the past, one of the things that I was working on for the past 7 months. Now, this working was a success because I calculated everything, and everything is fine. I do make a profit. It's not an issue. With the current success rate, I do make a profit in terms of betting. If I were to bet on these matches, etc., I make more than I lose. I calculated everything. The thing is that it is personally, I don't have to call out numbers, but for me personally, as well as practically overall, it is not beneficial to me. Not enough to the point where I want to continue. Because I already saw since the beginning that, hey, if I want to if I want to make a lot of money off of this, then it's gonna take a while. We're talking about it's gonna take a year. And before I decided, an hour or so before, when I was still going over everything, evaluating everything, I calculated everything, and I simply said to myself, "No, it's not practical." I literally calculated it to the point where I calculated it per match. And let me just give an example. Imagine if you, for example, wanted to make $50 per match within the context of everything I'm discussing here, within the context of this subject, and you saw that you made like 25 bucks a match. You see what I mean? You're going to say, meh, not enough to the point where it's worth all the trouble, so to speak, for me, all the metaphorical trouble. And that's a similar situation that I find myself in terms of the conclusion I came to. I simply came to this conclusion, like I described, and I simply said, okay, no. So since it's not practical or similar, I think it's best if I simply, in a manner of speaking, call it quits. This working for all intents and purposes is a success, no complaints whatsoever, but it is simply not practical and practically feasible for me in the way of profit and profit expectations, especially profit-based expectations, to the point where I want to continue. So I simply closed off this project as a whole, and that is it, and I'm simply sharing it with you guys. So that is all, guys. Let me know if you have anything on your mind in terms of feedback regarding this, and until next time, goodbye.